Welcome to another quick training. Today, we are going to talk about what we call the rule of three, and it's really just to keep a lot of your brokering simple and easy, and a lot of it actually helps your clients stay on task and focused and very happy with you. My name is Dusty Bates. I'm with Straight Talk Commercial Academy, and today we're going to talk about this topic. If you like the training today, you can go ahead and join us at other times as well. At our website, straighttalkacademy.com. We've got over 50 hours of training, growing more each week. So I use this rule in my brokering, and we're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about buyers and sellers and how to manage them. And we're going to use what we call the rule of three, which keeps it very simple. Okay. And you'll never guess how many rules there are for the rule of three. 1, you shall not let your client consider more than 3 properties for purchase at a time. Okay. And we're going to go through these a little bit more detail so you're clear. You're not going to let your client, where you're listing a property, consider more than 3 buyers at a time. You're going to vet that down. You're going to select your top 3, and those are going to be the ones you probably respond to. Sometimes they'll just do a blanket response, but oftentimes if you have that many buyers, you may have mispriced the property. Third thing that we're going to do, you're not going to take more than 3 active clients at a time. Now, there's exceptions to this, but especially if you're first starting, you're going to get confused and unfocused, and you should be pushing these guys or gals into transactions that are what they want, or we need to move on and let them do their own thing as well. You don't want to be sitting there spinning your wheels with 5 or 10 people. That's going to create a bad reputation for you, and they're not going to be happy, and you're not going to get paid. So try and keep 3 active clients at a time, no more, preferably no less. And I find that as long as you're, doing things at a relatively good clip, that's a very good way to do things. First, here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about how to vet buyers and sellers and the process there. And then we're going to show you how to use the rule of 3. So this could be, like I said, considering 3 buyers at a time, considering 3 properties at a time. This helps keep people laser focused on the project at hand. Let's first talk about vetting buyers. And you're going to notice there's these 3 things for sellers as well. Are your buyer, when you're talking to a buyer, don't just accept whoever comes in the door. You need to see, are they capable? Are they realistic? And are they reasonable with what they want? Because if they're not on any of those, then you're going to have a bad time. You're going to be spinning your wheels. You're going to spend a lot of time and effort and probably frustration before you or they cut the other party loose from the transaction, whether it's a buyer or a seller. But for buyers, first of all, do they have the funds to do the transaction? Don't be afraid. Ask them. Are they qualified with a lender? If they're not, why not? You should be putting them in front of a lender immediately. And before, if they need a loan for what they're proposing, before you do any work, they should be pre-qualified to the extent that they can, right? Second, are they realistic? Okay. Now, what you'll hear oftentimes is, I'm a buyer, I'm in the market for stuff, like especially if you're building your database, you're going to say, yeah, we'll buy stuff, but, just bring me a good deal. What does that mean? That means you're not a real buyer. That means you're not really clear on what you want. Okay, so a good deal is a red flag for me. And I say, well, what does that mean? They say, well, and they tell me something like, I want a 12% cap rate. And, I want it to be in the middle of downtown and all the, it's unrealistic. Okay. What are their specific needs and what are their specific wants and why? Okay. Are they replacing an income stream, or is this brand new money? And is it realistic with the market, right? So if I want something downtown in the middle of a high traffic area, probably going to get a lower return, right? So are they realistic with what that looks like? And like I said, is their criteria, like their cap rate, the location that they want, is all of that within reason for the market? Because if it's pie in the sky hopes and dreams that they want, you're going to waste a lot of time showing them a lot of stuff that they might just constantly turn down when you could be making money with some of their clients that are realistic. Now, that doesn't mean, if they're a little bit, on the aggressive side, that you don't take them on. You need to have the conversation and find out if they are realistic. Say, hey, you know what, that's a bit aggressive for the market, and here's why. Tell you what, let's go after it, but I want to, have an expectation with me and you. If the market's telling us that this is not really going to work this way and we need to make a change, are you willing to make a change and meet the market if we need to? Okay. And you need to have that expectation set up front, and not 3-4 weeks down the line say, you know what, it's not really working out, and then they're going to be disappointed. But if you've already spoken to them about this ahead of time, it's not going to be a surprise to them when you have to have that hard conversation. Like, look, we're being too aggressive here. We've turned down this, and this. We need to either adjust our expectations here a bit, because if you're not offering on things, we're not going to be able to buy anything, or we need to probably, maybe this isn't going to work out. And it's okay to fire a client if they're, not meeting the market and not doing what they said they would, because that again will hurt your reputation if you're just spinning your wheels with someone. And then, are they reasonable? Okay. Are they going to be an exclusive buyer with you? Or are they just saying, yeah, bring me a good deal? I'm not going to work really hard for that guy. Okay. If I have a deal where I list it, I'm going to put him on my list. I'm going to send it to him, right? Because then I could double in the deal. But if there's a buyer who's active and they're not willing to commit to exclusively working with me, then that's a red flag too. You're probably going to spin your wheels there as well. Commission as well. I have a conversation up front saying, look, here's my minimum that I usually charge. It's not set by law, right? Commission's not set by law, but here's what my fees are. Here's why. And for the most part, tell you what, in this market, a seller is going to pay that. We're in the price range where they're usually going to pay my minimum amounts, so we don't need to worry about it. But in the odd event that they're not willing to, we need to be aware, or you need to be aware, that what we'll do is we'll adjust your pricing or your offer to account for my commission. And I just need you to commit that, hey, we're going to get a minimum of this percentage or this flat fee. And, I'm going to try and get that from the seller. But if I don't, I need you to commit to me that, hey, we understand that we will get that commission one way or another if we close a deal. And then again, if the market is different than what we expected, are they going to be reasonable and make an adjustment? And if they're not, that's probably, and they're being aggressive with their pricing or their terms, probably not a good idea. So here's on the buy side, we talked about the three property rule. That was kind of vetting them out. When you're working with a buyer actively, we have what we call the 3 property rule, another rule of 3. Thou shalt not have more than 3 properties in front of them at a time. So what this means is you don't send them a property and they say, yeah, well, I kind of like it. And then you send them 3 more, and then you send them 5 more. And eventually you've got 10 or 12 properties that you've now looked at. You haven't offered on any. You haven't really gotten a definitive disqualification from the client. You just said, yeah, I don't really feel like it. And then maybe you try and revisit things, and now everyone's confused, right? I've got 12 properties we've kind of looked at, and I've kind of shown you, was that the one with the, this or that? Did that have this, unit mix? It gets confusing. So what we do is we say, hey, we're just going to do 3 at a time. And I talked to them about this up front too. Hey, the way we work, we're going to send you a set of 3 properties. Okay, I'm going to summarize them. You're going to have the brochures. And then what I want from you is I want you to tell me exactly what you don't like about the property. I love that there's things that you like about it. I want you to tell me why you do not want to offer on each of these properties, because that's going to help me dial in what I show you, right? And we're not going to waste your time. Okay, so, but we're not going to do more than 3 at a time. So what we're going to do, we're going to do 3. And if it's not disqualified, we're going to consider putting a letter of intent on it, right? And moving forward, okay? But no more than 3 at a time. So this is kind of how that might look, is maybe property 1, we've submitted a letter of intent. We're considering property 2, possibly doing something there. And then property 3, we disqualified. And what that means is while the property 1 and property 2 are kind of going through the process, maybe we get into contract, I'm still going to have a 3rd rotating property, right? I'm not going to stop now that we have a letter of intent out or that we have a contract out. I'm still going to kind of cycle through some properties for them to look at. And this is kind of what that looks like. I've got a little calculator that I built. Oftentimes I'm doing exchanges. So I've got here a subject asset with the different stats for it. And then I can compare it against some other properties. Here we got some KFC, Popeyes, a Jack's Urban Eats, I think, or Jack in a Box kind of concept, if I remember right. And what they can do is they can start to compare the income. And for my purposes, this really helps me because the client is less focused on the price point and more focused on, hey, I can replace my income stream. Okay, so if I'm listing a property and we look at these replacements, maybe they want 3.6 for their property. Okay, this is going to help them adjust that a little bit because they can see, hey, if I just do 3.3 or if I get to the market, get it sold, I can buy these other things and actually I can make more money for the same amount of net income. Okay, so that helps me with listing. As a buyer goes, they're going to look at these and they might be interested, or we might disqualify one and replace this third one, but still look at these two. And that way we have a rotating menu that we're looking at. No one's confused. We're forcing them to really dial in what they want and what they don't want by doing that, which is going to help them better understand that when I say I want a good deal, here is specifically what I mean, right? So that's kind of buyers, right? And again, they'll say, I want a good deal. Well, what does that mean? I want to place 350 into a well-positioned strip center. I'm hoping to achieve an 8% cash on cash return or better. That's better. That's much better. Okay, so is that realistic? I don't know. But now they know exactly what they want. And then obviously we need a lender going ahead of time. Okay, so that's buyers. Sellers, guess what? Here's how we vet them. Exactly the same three things. Are they capable? Are they realistic? And are they reasonable? We talk about capable. When you analyze a property, right, you do the listing, you're going to analyze a property. When you do that, do they have the equity and or ability to make that sale happen? Are they only decision makers? Is there some sort of rift between the partners that own the property? So there's questions like that. The equity is a question, right? So are we only going to have like $50,000 left over after the loan is paid down? Or is it negative equity, right? So are we going to have to come out of pocket to pay the lender, which can happen, you know, but you need to be aware that's going to probably affect your commission or their willingness to pay you a commission, right? So are they capable? And there could be other factors too. Ingress, egress, maybe there's some liens on the property, maybe there's an easement, there's an issue. These are all things you want to consider when you're listing a property, okay? Because that's also going to affect your valuation, right? If there's issues there. So realistically, when I present the value of the property, are they going to say, hey, you know, here's all the evidence, here's all the comps, but I want 30% more for the property? Okay, is that realistic? No. Okay. Does that mean you're going to necessarily turn down the listing? Maybe not, you know, but you know, I've had clients that want to price it aggressively above the market. We have a conversation about it. Say, hey, here's all the comps. Why do you want more? Is there something I'm missing? Is usually kind of the question. Is there something I didn't include because I see we're looking at the market, put you around 2 million. You want 3 million. Is there something maybe I didn't factor in here to my evaluation? And that forces them to kind of come to reality and say, well, no, I just want more. And then they can say, okay, well, we're going to waste our shot at hitting the market, number one. Okay, if we're so far above market, that's going to affect how many people see it and want to offer on it. And then the first couple of weeks is when you really get all the attention. We're wasting that. Okay. Number two, when we do have to do a price adjustment, if we do, that's going to signal weakness and people are going to come out and offer us even lower. Okay. Whereas if we come out at market, we can be more aggressive. But here's what I'm doing. Here's what I have done is if they still want to be a bit above market, I can say, we'll do that. But you know, what I need you to do is understand that if the market is telling us that we cannot support this price point, we need to know that after a couple of weeks, you should have a conversation and decide maybe we need to make an adjustment. You know, and if they're willing to do that, then I can take that. But sometimes too, if they're way above market, and I still am willing to take the deal, I will let them pay for the marketing, and I'll reduce my commission, right? Because part of my commission goes to marketing, right? And that's part of my conversation with them. If they want to be unrealistic and I still am willing to take the listing for whatever reason, they can pay the marketing and I can have a reduced commission. That way I'm not out of pocket if this thing doesn't go anywhere. But then maybe I'm collecting more buyers and more clients along the way. Right. Third one, reasonable. Okay. Are they going to cut corners? Are they nickel and diming you? Commissions, is it a big deal? Or are they willing to offer you a full commission? These can be some red flags. If they're wanting to cut corners left and right already when you're first taking a listing, these are things you might want to consider, because it's going to be a big headache, especially if there's price adjustments along the way. You better bet they're going to come after that commission again and take another swipe at that. So not necessarily a DQ for me, but it's something to keep in mind. And again, here's the flexible in pricing. If the market tells us we need to change, are you going to be willing to make a change? And I want to hear a yes if they're wanting above market. So that's really all I wanted to talk about today for this little quick training. Again, here's our 3 rules. Don't let your client on a buy side consider more than 3 properties at a time. When you're listing a property, just cut out, if you're dealing with more than 3 buyers, you're possibly priced a bit too low. In that case, you're kind of doing more of an auction style thing where you collect them all. There's a due date, and then there's a response at that time. So you can either do it that way, or you can do it this way, where you know, hey, we're not going to look at more than 3 buyers. Here's our top 3. Here's our response to all 3, and then we're going to select one. Okay. And then again, I really recommend you do not take on more than 3 clients that are active at a time. That doesn't mean you have you know, these guys that own property that say, yeah, I'll take a look at something if you have it. That's someone that's on your list. Someone who's active is someone who you're actively, consistently doing that rule of 3 properties, helping them buy something as soon as possible. So hopefully you enjoyed this training. Again, if you would like to learn more, links are below. You can join us. We do office hours every single Friday. We will see you next time.